The following program, The Lightning Strike, is sponsored by Mohammed Faheem, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of News Web Radio Company or its management.
Get ready to be jolted out of the ordinary and into a world where conversations are charged with intensity and facts. The Lightning Strike Talk Radio with your host, Mohammed Faheem, broadcasting live from the heart of the city on Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, WCPT 820 AM. Welcome to a radio show that charges through the airwaves with an electricity like no other. Here's your host, Mohammed Faheem.
Good morning, folks. Good morning. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike. We come here every Sunday morning on WCPT 820 AM in Chicago, but it's worldwide on the heartlandsignal.com website, and you can also follow us on Facebook on the WCPT page and the TLS for the Lightning Strike Chicago page. Good morning. I have got Ken DeLuc in the studios with me today.
Howdy, folks.
Alderman John Arena and Congresswoman Marie Newman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so back on track now. So much happened last week. Folks, we are going through some crazy times over here, and some crazy people also dropping in and out of public life. But the most important, the biggest stories that we wanted to cover today. And if you want to join us, please call in at 773-763-9278 or 763-WCPT. We will start taking phone calls about 9:30 or so if you want to join the conversations. Today we're going to talk about Biden dropping out and Kamala stepping in. We're also going to talk about Trump freaking out and the selection of J.D. Vance. Man, you couldn't find anyone else, Trump? Something is definitely wrong over there, right? We're also going to talk about Netanyahu's address to the joint session of both houses and how our lawmakers are letting this tail wag the American dog. I mean, this is so crazy. The guy gets like over 50 standing ovations. How many people has AIPAC bought? That is a question.
All of them.
All of them. That's what Marie says. And it is crazy, guys. We are letting a foreign government run our country, and we need to fight back against that. We're also going to talk about Project 2025, the grand plan that the Republicans, the extreme right wing of the party, has to make our country not so great for the rest of our generations to come. And then we have our person of the week. That is what the show is going to be about today. Folks, let us start about Biden dropping out. Murray, you called it. Not in so many words, but you're kind of like, something is going to happen.
You know, no one knew. I mean, he kept it very tight to his top aide. So, like, I just want to be clear, I had no real sense. I just saw all the pieces coming into play, right? Is that there was public sentiment problems well over 65%, well over that in every single poll. They wanted him to drop out. We had a very, very competent and ready-made candidate that had the best experience of all the presidents that ran for this office. So, you know, we're in a really good position. And my personal hypothesis was this would create such enthusiasm, it would completely turn the race around. And it is very seldom when I'm right. So, you know, so when I am right, I'm like, whoa!
Very good company.
Yeah, so outstanding. Right. So it did.
Well, the Democratic Party basically somehow pulled a rabbit out of the hat, and the timing was so perfect. I think it threw Trump for a loop. He was not expecting it. They knew it was going to happen. And Trump was totally unprepared. And the team of bozos that surround him, they had no idea at all that this might happen. So, folks, here's the thing. Okay, the Democratic Party needs a lot of work. Okay, the Democratic Party has been screwing up right and left also. They are trying to eat their own in a lot of places. That should not be allowed to happen, and we are not here to advocate on behalf of the Democratic Party, but on behalf of our country, we do not have a choice at this time. And that is something that I want you to please hang your hat on. Kamala stepping in, like you were saying, Marie, ready-made candidate. So, John, your thoughts on Kamala?
Well, I think, as we've seen in the last week, she's consolidated in a masterful way in terms of getting the support, doing the work. Mm-hmm. And I'm very, happy that, these first steps have been without, any trips. She's her statements, after meeting with Netanyahu were solid and balanced. I think, the kind of tour that she's been doing, it seems very solid. So they have a good platform, a good foundation in terms of a launch. Now it's, can they keep the trajectory?
Can they keep the momentum going? Ken, what do you have to say on that, man?
Yeah, I mean, the momentum is actually the key here. It's really important for people to not get overly enthusiastic with what's going on, but actually start digging down and educating and talking to people. It's kind of funny looking at the right wing. They're like painting Kamala with a DEI brush, and that's like ridiculous. I mean, she is absolutely qualified for the position she's in. She's very intelligent. She's a dynamic speaker, and I just pray that Trump doesn't chicken out and actually has a debate with her.
Well, Trump had said that September 9th he was willing to take anyone on at any place, any time. Yeah. And now, let's reconsider that. Let's rethink that, because hey, you got a prosecutor coming at a convicted felon.
Yeah, it's almost too many softballs there. Yeah.
So someone had put up on Facebook that, people don't know how to pronounce her name, whether it's Kamala or Kamala. So Doug Imhoff responded back in an interview. He said, I don't really care how to pronounce her name. In a few months, she'll be Madam President to me.
There you go.
God bless.
Just call her Harris if you can't say it. Just say
that was the best comeback that I could have done anyway.
He's an amazing asset, by the way, on the trail. He is
really
charming, kind, humble, like all those things. Very smart. Like, he's lovely.
And I don't think that in his wildest dreams he has ever made love to a couch.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Went there right away.
Yeah, the couch jokes were way too easy. Way too
my
easy.
God.
Yeah. And then the cat lady jokes, way too easy.
I mean, this is like the cringiest guy. Like, I haven't seen a thing he's done where it's just like, okay, he pulled that off. Like, everything is just in this, like, what's with Mountain Dew and this guy? Like, and he can't even land that joke with his own crowd.
Right.
But he keeps going back to it.
So, folks, we are going through some historic times in this country. I'm so glad that I'm alive to see this and pass on some of these stories to my children and grandchildren later on. That, we saw this crazy guy. My daughter was asking me this question, guys, this morning. She said, Dad, the Republicans overall seem to be good, educated people, God-fearing and everything. They couldn't find anyone else to represent them except this guy.
J.D. Vance, right?
Either
Let's
of them.
be clear, we're talking about
Either of them. Well, the best tape of the week was when Trump went off in this unhinged rant about, hey, Christians, you got to vote. And you know what? If you vote this time, you'll never have to vote again.
Well, on that note, let us see if we can play that clip. Okay. So, folks, here is our former present convicted felon saying that, my fellow Christians, I'm evangelical Christians, I'm a Christian. I mean, come on, man, you don't have to say that.
Well, let's let him.
Please listen to this
him do the hard
and
work
see where our country will be headed if we let this clown get elected again. Henry, please.
I don't care how, but you have to get out and vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote. Just this time.
Sorry.
You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Just
So,
this
so if
time.
it's fixed, what happens on January 6th? Do we storm the Capitol if it's fixed?
We'll have it fixed.
It'll be all fixed.
We'll have it fixed. Okay.
So I am one thing. I am incredible. One, like this is the quiet part. Like we've seen this. The guy tried to overturn an election, so it's not like we have never seen this kind of
In trying to
intent
fix
before.
things.
But in some of the media, it's like trying to divine, is he saying he'll have all the problems fixed? And I'm like, guys, stop giving the benefit of the doubt to this goofball who literally is telling you what he's going to do. It's just amazing that somebody could be on CNN and go, well, I'm not sure now.
Well, it's not the quiet part out loud. He's not been quiet about this, right?
No.
So he's just saying that lesser part, he's screaming it to the mountaintops. That's what he's doing now.
And can we just, one little nugget there, like how he is so much like, oh, you beautiful Christians, I love you. I'm not Christian. Let's just be clear, because clearly he has no idea what the Ten Commandments have to do, and I start to wonder whether some of these Christian nationalist folks know what the Ten Commandments are because they're supporting.
Well, most of them don't.
But he literally tells them, that's your thing.
And
It's not
John,
my thing,
let's not forget that the Ten Commandments are given to Moses, who was not a Christian to begin with. Okay, so
maybe he's read the Bible.
Neither was Jesus, by the way.
yeah, and his name was not Jesus. We keep on saying that. Okay, his name was Jesus. Okay, because there's no J in the Aramaic language. Okay, so folks, jokes aside, our country, our future is at risk over here. I like one thing which Trump said. He said, "Go out and vote." Not just Christians, every person should go out and vote and make sure that we do not allow this demagogue, whatever the word is, demagogue, to come into power again.
I kind of like demagogue.
Demagogue.
Yeah, that's good. I like that too.
Okay.
Well played.
So that's the morning thought that we had for you. JD Vance, what do you guys think of the selection of this person? I mean, I love the timing of the Democrats. And for Obama and Michelle to wait till a couple of days back, drop that bombshell on him. Okay.
Well, I think that the way these, just the way that the endorsements have come in from the leadership, it wasn't front loaded. It was let's get the delegates, right? Let's do that work there, make the case there, and then have it push up from the bottom, as opposed to here's all the superstars of the Democratic Party endorsing her up front.
And also being transparent about the process, because everybody was invited into the process and very clearly over and over again. So it wasn't like she was coronated, which they, the Republicans are accusing her, and that's simply not true.
Yeah. And they keep on worrying about, she raised about like $150 million.
Oh, that's crazy.
As of midday yesterday, $200 million.
Yeah, I mean, never
More
in the
than,
history of politics has
like
that ever
8 times
happened.
as much as Obama did in the first 6 months.
Yeah, there was a phone call, the Zoom call the other day. South Asian woman.
I was on it. Oh, that one. Oh, I wasn't on that one.
South Asian women, 10,000 of them from across the country, in 1 hour raised $300,000.
Yep,
Woo!
I heard that.
Woo!
Okay.
Amazing.
So the momentum has shifted so quickly that it is amazing. Now, is Kamala going to be the be-all and end-all for everything that is happening in the world?
No, that cannot happen
Yeah.
because Matt Gaetz changed his eyebrows.
Oh. Ken, you had to bring that in.
Yeah, you've been waiting for that one.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
Okay, folks, if you want to join the conversation, the number to call in is 773-763-9278. This is the Lightning Strike. We come every Sunday morning from 9 to 10. And if you'd like to support the show, please go to patreon.com/TLS Chicago. We do have that set up, or you can go to our website, tlschicago.com, and hit the donate button to make a small donation, whatever that you can. We're trying to keep the conversation commercial free over here. So we don't have the moneyed people coming in and telling us what we can talk about and what we cannot talk about. And this is a show for the people, by the people, of the people. It's for you, okay? And a lot of the time when people come up to say that, hey, you cannot be talking about that, it's not good, we say, okay, fine, you're not supporting us, so don't tell us what to do. But the fact always is that WCPT, we talk about facts. Facts matter. So we don't want to get into conjecture. We don't want to get into conspiracy theories, even though the FBI director has come out openly and said there is maybe, remember my thought was that it was not a bullet. Yeah. If a bullet whizzes by your ear, it'll take your ear off.
And your hair.
And your hair will be singed.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now the FBI is kind of working on that maybe the bullet was fired. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. It was an assassination attempt, should never have happened. But Trump should get an award for the best actor of the year. Yeah. Okay.
You know what? Since you
or best actor of the year.
I love it. Mohammed, you should explain what shrapnel is, because just for our listeners, the difference between a bullet and then what is shot off from. So.
Okay. Here's what happens, folks. When a bullet is fired from a gun, when it goes through the barrel of the rifle, it is trying to break apart from the moment that it exits, and if it hits anything solid, it shatters. Now, typically, the ballistics on this particular one, it was an AR-15 type of rifle. It was not the most accurate. It was not a sniper-grade rifle. Okay? And if the bullet hits something, it goes in, and it takes about roughly 4 to 5 inches to shatter inside a human body. Yeah. Okay. But if it is going through and it hits anything else on its way, it could be a monitor, it could be anything, it could be a tree branch, whatever. Right. It shatters. So that's where the shrapnel occurs. It could be something that was on the stage that kind of hit his ear. 100% not a bullet. Okay, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Yeah. But if a bullet hits you, man, you're gone.
Well, the Republican ballistics experts in the FBI have identified that is true, right? That if in fact, it's what you said, Mohammed, that if it had been a bullet that grazed his ear, A, his ear would be gone, and then B, he would have no hair on the side of his head. So it does appear that he did get hit with something. Let's be very clear.
Of course.
And there was an assassination attempt. Those are both very true and awful, and we should feel sorry for his family, all of those things. But what actually happened was either part of the monitor or a piece of the bullet, a tiny piece that, grazed him. So we are where we are. But, and it doesn't make it any less scary, by the way. But, facts are important.
Absolutely. But there is a lot of research going into what happened. I mean, the Secret Service screwed up. And I'm glad 100%. That, Director Cheadle resigned the next day after the hearing. Big screw up by the Secret Service. The guy flew a drone over the place. No one noticed it. Yeah. I mean, if I have a drone flying over my house...
Yeah, I would notice it.
I would notice it. Okay, there's a sound that comes. Okay. So, strange things are happening, folks. But we are living in a very dystopian world at this point. We have got somebody who has no business running for office, especially for the President of the United States. And there seem to be people who are backing him up. I have no idea. I would love to have a Republican call in to our show someday and justify what their thinking is. Why are they bringing in somebody who's not going to be good for the country, who does not want us to have another election?
But that's not their perspective, Mohammed. I mean, we do have to be respectful, even though we heartily agree with them, or disagree with them, rather. They do believe that our country is going in the wrong direction, and they truly, I would say easily 30% of the country wants to go back to the 1960s. That is where they are comfortable, even young people. They perceive that to be, and if we can remind them what happened historically, two politicians were shot and killed and assassinated, right? Martin Luther King, one of our greatest statesmen, I will call him, of civil rights, was killed. So remind our young people, like, that was not a Camelot as it is depicted, right? That's not a good time. It was people of color were treated like awfully, horribly, heinously, right? So it was not a time to be revered, but genuinely, 30% of the American population thinks we should go back to that. So that is, and that's just a vibe and a kind of a perspective issue. There's no data or facts that will refute that.
Such a scary thought, though. Such a scary thought. Okay, the only good part about it is flower power would be back again.
Yeah, maybe, but there's no. It's hard to. Now we're all open to a good conversation about smaller government, taxes, financial matters, economics, all those things, the climate. But it is going to be really hard to get over that zeitgeist, that part of the zeitgeist. I think there's a bigger zeitgeist that supports Kamala. And I think independents are going that way, which is really going to be the magic in this race, right? The zeitgeist in the country is very different, but that zeitgeist among the 30% is very different.
Okay, so how do we reach out to them? We got about 100.
You don't. I mean, there's a fringe group of people who are undecided. Those are the people that you have to target. But the people who have drank the Kool-Aid, have gone down that rabbit hole, there's no getting to them. I mean, I wish there were an answer, but there
not in the
just
time
isn't.
frame I think that we have here.
Right.
Like, I mean, we're talking
Well,
about
the time frame is short, about 102 days or 101 days from now. Once that happens, folks, but don't go on the 100 days because we have got early voting.
Yeah.
That will start.
Start in September, I think.
Okay. So you have to be prepared to make up your mind as quickly as possible. And I keep on saying this, folks. Talk to friends, talk to family individually, okay? You have this money class, which is AIPAC now, throwing in millions of dollars just on the primaries for the Congress now to go against the squad. They have pledged $100 million. To take Jamal Bowman out, they spent, $20 million? For what? They are investing in buying our country and our lawmakers, which is such a shame, and we should not allow that to happen. Now they're going after Cori Bush. Okay, there was a fundraiser yesterday for Cori Bush in Chicago that I attended. What a wonderful woman. What a wonderful woman. What a wonderful fighter. Okay, we need people like that in Congress to represent us. We don't want people who are bought outright. They are spending they've already spent about $12 million in the election in St. Louis, Missouri now.
Yeah.
Okay. And they said we are willing to go up to $50 million. I got about 10 days left for the primary over there. So folks, if you've got friends and family in St. Louis, Missouri, make sure, let them know that Cori Bush needs to get back into Congress to represent our interests as progressives.
Okay.
You cannot get more progressive than that.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you want to call in, the number is 773-763-9278. We are coming up to the half an hour point in the show now. It's about 9:29. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back on the other side of the break with Netanyahu's address to the joint session of both houses of Congress and why our lawmakers stood up and gave him over 50 standing ovations. These guys need to be checked. I mean, this is going beyond the pale now. And while all of this is happening, the murders are still going on full force in Gaza and other places in the Palestine area. Folks, this cannot be allowed to continue. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back on the other side of the break. You're listening to The Lightning Strike. I'm your host, Mohammed Faheem. With me in the studios, again, my co-hosts, Ken DeLuc, John Arena, and Marie Newman.
Did you know there's an Illinois mandate that states by 2025, ComEd has to have 25% of the energy they deliver come from a green source? Because of this, plus the fees and taxes you've already paid on this program, if you qualify, you can get solar on your home at no out-of-pocket cost. This can mean an average savings on your electric bill of maybe 30 to 50%. More importantly, it would eliminate the uncertainty of ComEd raising your rates by whoever knows how much each year. Some people have noticed a 41% increase on their bill this spring, and ComEd has been asking for another 80% increase over the next 4 years. If your average bill is $200 a month now, maybe it could be reduced to $100 a month. Now, 5 years, would you rather pay $115 or possibly $400 to $500? If you'd like to see if you can qualify for this program, call Ken DeLuc at 312-617-8979. That's 312-617-8979. Help us save the environment and change that electric bill burden. That's 312-617-8979. Take advantage of this program while it's still available.
Welcome back to the Lightning Strike with Mohammed Faheem.
Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to the Lightning Strike. And we have our good listener in Michigan, Ron, calling in. Hey, Ron, I'm going to be in Michigan next weekend, man. I'm coming up to Detroit.
Well, that'd be about 300 miles.
Hey, come on. It is anyway. Michigan. It is Michigan. If you love us so much, you got to come out and have a cup of coffee with me over there, okay?
All the way to Detroit? I don't know. We got coffee around here, too.
Oh, shoot.
But anyway.
Okay. Hey,
Newman said...
Hey, you got a couch that J.D. Vance can camp out on?
Oh, no.
Sure he can, of course. And a sleeping bag, of course.
Okay. You got a subscription to the dry cleaners around your house?
But anyway, Mohammed, and Ms. Newman said that they want to take us back to the 50s. I think it's right. They want to take us back pre-Civil War, before the Civil War.
Maybe.
Where they can enslave us.
You might be right. You might be right.
And the thing is, when Trump said this is going to be the last election if he wins, he ain't kidding. And his followers want that so much.
Hey, Ron. Sorry to cut in, but did you listen to the clip that we played of Trump?
Yeah, I had. I couldn't get to the radio in time.
Okay, hold on one second. Henry, let's play that again. just to reinforce and make you aware of what the heck the country is going to be facing if this clown is reelected. Take a listen, Ron, and then we can continue the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how, but you have to get out and vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
John, did he say I'm not a Christian?
He said he's not a Christian.
Yeah.
Oh,
to
man.
the Christians. Okay. And then, we'll have it fixed so good,
Okay. So, Ron, he plans to, number one, there's going to be no more legal abortions in the country. Everyone is going to be fixed, okay? So no more anything. You heard the man. You still want to talk about it now? Go ahead.
I'm not a biblical scholar, but the passage that the lawless man. This is the lawless man. Yeah. There's nothing. The devil is in supremacy with him and his followers. I don't care if they call themselves Christians, because those Christians that he's addressing, they'll become lynch mobs, burning and killing and slaughtering people of the opposite party if they do take power. And it's. You mentioned J.D. Vance. Who is J? How many names has he changed? 3 or 4 different names?
Well, depends on how he feels that particular day. Okay. So if he feels like J.D. Bowman, he's J.D. Bowman.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it a form of self-hatred of your ancestors, of your past, that you don't want to stick to that name that you want to hold up and glorify? If not glorify, at least justify. But it shows the the emptiness of these people. It's like nothing they have except it's hate. But we have to be, Muhammad. When we say, "Oh, there's more of us than them," I hate that term because they have more guns than us. Mm-hmm. They have more bullets than us. So I don't like using that term because that gives them an opportunity. Oh, we got to whittle that number down. Okay, because this is what we're talking about.
Boy.
They're talking violence.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what they want to do to us.
Mm-hmm.
And,
absolutely.
Here's the thing about the assassination attempt. Let's see the brain scan of him. Let's see the medical records. Is his brain really, shot? Is he demented as he appears to be? What? Let us see that. And,
hey, Ron. The bullet had nothing to do with the dementia for him. This guy has been demented for a long time, man.
That's a pre-existing condition.
it's a pre-existing condition.
He cannot share that with anyone because he's under audit.
I love that excuse. I love that.
Well, Ron, thank you so much for calling in. Thank you so much for listening in, man. And 300 miles. I would drive 300 miles out to have coffee with you one day if you are going to be paying for it. Okay. But jokes aside, folks, again, we are looking at our country, which is being bought out outright by groups like AIPAC. Why are we allowing this to happen? That is my question. Netanyahu comes and addresses the joint session of both houses. Okay, our speaker was basically, he got like $97,000 or something from AIPAC recently, and over his career he's got like over $500,000, I'm told, from AIPAC.
From Johnson receiving?
Yeah. Okay. So these are numbers that are out there. These are numbers that we are not making up. You can go to opensecrets.org and then...
Better go to fec.gov because Open Secrets is not always accurate.
Yeah, and FEC has all the, money that is being paid out, millions and millions of dollars. And then Netanyahu comes in and he disses the American people. Lack of a better word.
Yeah,
okay.
A lot of gaslighting. A lot of
gaslighting.
And I don't understand. It's like the State of the Union address, right? Where every single word out of the president's, I don't care right or left or whatever, their mouth, you got all this applause. What the heck were they applauding with this guy? I mean, I couldn't take it anymore. It's like listening to a Republican convention. My ears were bleeding.
Yeah, I'm glad about 100 Congress people decided to stay away. Mm-hmm. Okay, salute to them.
And some went and displayed signs and showed.
Rashida Tlaib was there, and they actually had some of the sergeant at arms or whatever come up to her and say, "Hey, please don't put up that sign saying war criminal."
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a war criminal. Yeah. What else do you expect us to do? He's been
indicted by the ICC and the ICJ. Yes, he's a war. That's a fact. It just is. I don't know.
If anything, as a signatory to the International Court of Justice and the United Nations, he should have been arrested the moment he landed in America.
Why wasn't 100%. He arrested and why wasn't he extradited?
Okay, so that is the question for you folks. Please try to understand that the country was founded on the principle of liberty and equality for all. Mm-hmm. We are not supposed to be able to just buy Congress people to represent a foreign country's interest. Okay, no one is denying that Israel has the right to exist. Mm-hmm. Okay, all the more power to you. But when the International Court of Justice comes in and issues an indictment against not just Netanyahu, a lot of other people also, it's an international body that was formed for this purpose. We have got to pay respect to that.
And there is a difference between, supporting the state of Israel and not supporting an abhorrent leader.
Yes.
That's right. They're two different things.
But they're very two different things. Those two things can
And
exist.
you are not anti-Semitic when you criticize the far right-wing attached to Netanyahu that is not being anti-Semitic. And by the way, I went through this all the time when I was in office. They called me anti-Semitic because I was very much in favor of two-state solution and ending the occupation and having both entities, both Palestine and Israel, live in peace and prosperity, right? But as I would say, so my husband is Jewish, so please tell me how that works. Yeah, happy to
Hide
hear
it
about
well.
that.
I don't know. What
So then they. So you know what? Ultimately, they did stop going after me, which is, by the way, a huge asset that Kamala has because Doug Emhoff is Jewish. And she's already starting to turn the corner. So I'm hopeful she takes it all the way to ending the occupation because she's made some good strides in terms of, boycotting Netanyahu, having only a short talk with him, and being clear that she wants a ceasefire ASAP. But then what I also liked is she talked about ending the occupation in that speech. And so,
and a two-state solution.
Yeah, and a two-state solution. But we need details around that, and we need a timeline. Yeah. Those two things have to come.
It is going to come. It is going to come. I strongly believe that it's going to come, folks. It's, Kamala is not just saying this to win an election.
Right.
Okay.
I agree.
Because even before she got nominated or, before the process started, she is on record asking for a ceasefire.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know why Biden basically fell on his sword for Netanyahu.
I still don't understand that. But we have a huge opportunity strategically here is that Biden can be the quote unquote good cop and she can be the bad cop.
Yeah.
And I think she can prosecute this thing pretty well. So.
Keep hearing that word.
Speaking of prosecute, I'm a little bit confused. Netanyahu went down to Mar-a-Lago to meet with our ex-president. Is that not a violation of the Logan Act, that meeting and what they were dealing with there?
How are you thinking about that? How would you think that? Because I don't see it readily.
For people who aren't, who are not actually in office, in essence, having.
Oh, you're thinking he should be a registered foreign policy diplomat, and he's not a foreign.
Exactly.
Okay. So, interestingly, there's a lot of squishiness around when you're a former elected official. So as an example, Jimmy Carter, when he did all that good diplomacy work, he wasn't registered as, for some of that, he wasn't registered as a foreign diplomat. So you do have some latitude when you're a former official.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, folks, time is running out. It's already 9:42, and we wanted to talk about Project 2025 every single Sunday so that you guys who have not heard of it or have heard of it, don't understand what it is, can begin to understand. We are peeling back the layers of this onion every Sunday. And feel free to go back and visit the show again on our website, tlschicago.com, or our YouTube channel at TLS Chicago. We'll be posting some clips now on Instagram and other things. I'm working on that so that we can get more and more people to understand what we are trying to do over here with the lightning strike. Project 2025, Ken, can you please run us through the highlights of what it is and what we're going to be talking about today in the next 5 minutes?
There's certain talking points that it's a 920-page document. So if you're ever taking a bath and you have candlelight and you just want to relax, it's a great read. But in essence, it's the Republican playbook for what they want to do if they get reelected into office. And there's some major points that they, and we've talked about a couple of these. They address personnel and staffing. They address Christian nationalism, which is very interesting on their thoughts on that. Reproductive rights, the Department of Justice and the federal law enforcement, which we had covered, the LGBTQ rights, climate change, which is super important, immigration, education, DEI, that's diversity, equity, and inclusion, and then there are thoughts on where the U.S. military and the Department of Defense should go. So let me ask John, what do we talk about today?
Well, what's interesting is, in general, most of the things you just mentioned were going to just go away, like the Department of Education, DEI, and LGBTQ rights. Just get rid of them, and that's pretty straightforward. So today we're going to talk about transportation, and I just want to preface it with a little bit of housing that they talk about. So, and this is right from their, these are their words. So Congress should prioritize any and all legislative support for the single-family home. Homeownership forms the backbone of the American dream. The purchase of a home is the largest investment most Americans make in their lifetimes, and homeownership remains the most accessible way to build generational wealth for millions of Americans. Now, here's the interesting thing. I agree with that. But in their view, the people who get to own a home, and we talk about going back to the 50s, when you disassemble the administrative state, if you remember the 50s, they had a thing called redlining. Mm-hmm. So who got, after World War II, who got access to
home ownership? Yeah,
home ownership. It was white men, right? Yeah. Because women, couldn't even really have bank accounts.
Or a credit card.
Or any kind of financial independence. Mm-hmm. So when they talk about this, it's veiled in this idea that we're going to decide who actually gets to build generational wealth. And we've seen how not allowing minorities to build generational wealth has created this income gap.
So this isn't making America great again?
Well, no, in their mind, this is when America was great, right? They're going back to the 50s or further back.
Or better said, racism is great according to them. So let's,
Exactly. So
clear.
Why I bring that up, because we're going to talk about transportation and zoning laws, and I spent a lot of time working on that as alderman, and dealing with the backlash of the single-family homeowner versus multi-unit buildings and the racism that underpins that NIMBYism. This is the type of thing that is a horror show to me, because it would just completely weaponize that kind of wealth generation and building. So kind of moving over to the Department of Transportation and what they want to do there. And you were on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, so maybe I'd love to get some insights from you on this. So they talk about the discretionary grant-making process that should be abolished, and funding should be based on formulaic distributions to the states. So in one hand, they talk about let's give power to the states to make these decisions about what we do in terms of transportation. And I'll say that in a lot of these things, in a single paragraph, they will talk about certain things and then completely contradict themselves. Mm-hmm. And so it's sometimes hard to define exactly where they want to go. But I thought this was interesting. They talk about role of user fees and other pricing innovations with regard to transportation infrastructure. So airport landing fees for aircraft, toll charges on roads and bridges, per gallon, taxes on gasoline and diesel fuel are all examples of user charges that affect the decisions of transportation system users. Increasing private sector financing would revolutionize travel and increase everyday mobility to its greatest potential in a way that Americans prefer. So what's interesting to me is we have all of those fees exist. Mm-hmm. So, but what's underpinning it is increasing private sector financing.
Yeah.
And they go on to this, the next page, or the next bullet point, is allow each state to purchase the transportation services it thinks are best. They use the word purchase. So I connect those dots, and maybe tell me if I'm, building a house that doesn't exist. If you're saying give the states, let them decide, here's all the federal money you need, and then you get to purchase these things, that says to me privatization. Mm-hmm. Our roads, our bridges, it'll all be, if you want to go somewhere, it'll be surge pricing to get across that bridge at 9 o'clock when you're going to work, or, am I missing something here?
No, you're not. It's exactly what they're trying to do. But let me just identify one very funny thing about all these fees. We could have a boon for environmentalism because usage will go down. So if you have more fees and more taxes on road usage and all of these other ancillary fees, it could go down, right? So it would be good for the environment. So that's a funny thing, right? So let me put it over to the other side. What's happening here, though, and they can't do, what they don't understand, and this is the level of ignorance of the Constitution, is the appropriations process is set up by a set of rules in Congress and the Constitution. So by saying you can only have grants here and not here and all of this stuff, a slippery slope, because if they take grants away from that area, they can take grants away from education, arts, healthcare, all of those things, and for nonprofits that heavily rely on them. So bad news there. But they can't change the appropriations process by putting it into a platform. That is absolute hogwash. So that's silly. And then my other comment regarding the private sector ownership is that then what we would see, and I just want to make this tangible for everybody, is that then you would see all of the bridges in downtown Chicago with names like Boeing on them and Google and Apple.
Hey, as long
and
as there's no Trump name on any bridge,
right.
I will be willing to
there'll
go
be Trump
over it.
names.
Yeah,
Okay.
there would be for sure. But by the way, that's not a gross exaggeration, but it is gross, right? It's gross because what happens then is that then they are in charge of maintaining it, and they can use whatever requirements that they would like. So they are no longer tied to government standards of construction or care or maintenance.
Exactly.
And all of those things are scary. So, folks, privatization will put your safety and security in jeopardy, period.
There's a reason why the government exists. The government exists to do things that privatizing cannot do. We have an army. It's funded by the government. We have infrastructure that's funded by the government. Okay? It's like,
Hey, Ken, we have a prison system that is funded by the government, and I hope that one of the candidates running for office gets a number in that system pretty soon. Folks, every Sunday, we talk about issues that are dear to the hearts of the American people. You can go to our website, TLS for the Lightning Strike, tlschicago.com, to check up on our previous shows. You will see a link for previous shows in there, and the current show will also be posted on the website. We do go live on the Heartland Signal every Sunday and on Facebook Live on WCPT's Facebook page and the TLS Chicago page. We'll be wrapping up this segment in a second and going back to our person of the week, who's Israel Smith, coming up shortly. And if you want to be a person of the week, if you want to be a guest on the show, if you want to be featured, please go to our website, tlschicago.com. And while you're there, send us a message and show us some love also. There's a donate button on that website. See if you can make a quick donation through the website to keep the show going. John, you wanted to finish up on this.
Yeah, so I think there's a whole lot of this, and if people want to dive into it,
Yeah, we can continue the conversation on this particular topic next week also, yeah.
But one thing in terms of safety, which seems to be not a big priority, is so there's a thing called Vision Zero, which is reducing, pedestrian deaths and automobile deaths. And they want to get rid of that because they say it means actively seeking congestion for automobiles to reduce speeds. So and they're saying this is what Congress at some point had mandated, that we should increase congestion. And the irony to this, again, these things are so contradictory.
Yeah.
There's a whole segment on basically defunding mass transportation. So how wide does the Kennedy Expressway have to be if you get rid of mass transportation in cities where everybody has to drive in their personal vehicle, and there are no standards for safety?
Talk to the mayor of LA about that.
Well, I was going to say.
Okay.
And you get into the environmental side of it about, what was, when cafe standards, they want to get rid of that. So your vehicle, while it's going to get less miles per gallon, you're going to increase the number of times you got to stop at the gas
But
station.
John, you have to remember that Trump never heard of Project 2025, so
right.
none of this is going to happen if Trump gets elected. Okay. On that note, Sheila, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Sheila is our producer for these Person of the Week segment, folks. Sheila White does a great job, finds us the best possible guests, and today's guest is Israel Smith. And God, we lost Sheila, man. What did you do, Henry? Okay, Henry lost Sheila, so I'm going to blame Henry for anything bad that happens.
No.
Okay.
No.
So Sheila is trying to get back in.
Sheila's back.
But so Sheila, it was Henry's fault. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning. Our special person of the week today is Israel Smith. He is the founder of Mokina's Front Porch. He's also an historian about Mokina. So, Israel, welcome to the show. And one of the things I would like to know is what are the top 3 things that we need to know about the town of Mokina?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I love talking about Mokina, and as you said, I started a podcast just over 2 years ago, kind of highlighting the long history of Mokina. You know, this is a town that was built on the Rock Island Pacific Railroad, founded in 1852 and incorporated in 1880. And at one point, Mokina was the only stop on the railroad between Blue Island and Joliet. So it's been a major point along that railroad for many years. Mokina still has that small town feel, and it's something I really love about Mokina. I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin, and I like to say it still has that kind of feel of what a small town feels like. You know, a lot of good civic organizations and groups. I'm an active part in our Lions organization in town. And I'm currently president this year, and it's just great to see all the things that local organizations do for a community to help people in need, to further causes, and to get help. Most importantly, where people locally have a need.
So, Israel, Mokina, not many people have heard of Mokina.
I believe Mokina is a suburb of Frankfurt. Is that correct?
How dare you?
Wow.
No, sir. We are about equal size. We're at 20,000, just under 20,000 population.
So you're actually a suburb of Plainfield then.
Oh, man. You guys.
It's sure been a pleasure being on your show.
I'm here till Thursday. Yeah.
So, jokes aside, what is the historical significance of Mokina? If you could please walk us through, if I come to Mokina, which I do quite often, in fact, I never knew about the historical significance of anything in Mokina. If you could please walk us through that.
Yeah. Well, one of the cool things is we still have a number of our old, buildings, a lot of them just post-Civil War. We have the farm that was really the first property that established Mokina. It's still standing. It's the McGovney-Yunker farm. It's the only property in Mokina listed on the National Register of Historic Places. It's owned by the Park District now, so they keep and maintain it. And, our downtown is in a place where it needs some growth, but we're getting some great new restaurants in the dock, which moved from Joliet's coming in. And we're in a point of, I think, really looking for revitalization. And but the history of Mokina is what makes it interesting, I think. And one thing I like to say to people in the community, and any community, when you get to know your history of where your town came from or where you came from, you get a good idea of how you connect to that community and a good way to connect to it. So if you know where you came from, it's a good way to connect to where you are today and make it a better place to live and more enjoyable.
So what does the name Mokina mean? Where did the name come from?
So it's funny enough, we have a good episode about the name of Mokina because there's a lot of controversy, and there was a Indian chief named Mokina. There was some people thought it was mud turtle. There was but it comes down to, it does mean it's an Algonquin. I'm pretty sure I'm right. Or Iroquois, one of the Indian names for Mokina. And for turtle means Mokina.
Because I was told some time back that the word Chicago actually came from an old Indian term for a place of bad smell.
Smelly onions.
Smelly onions or something, right?
Yeah.
Smell onions.
I've heard that, yeah.
So no smelly onions
so we don't
in
smell
Mokina.
like Chicago. Is what
Other root vegetables, maybe.
Hey, Israel, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you or your organization, how would they reach out to you?
Yeah, I've got a website. It's mokinasfrontporch.com. I'm on Facebook, just finding by Mokina's Front Porch. And all my contact information is on there. We've got 26 YouTube videos and 42 audio-only episodes available, all about the great history of Mokina, some about the area, and I'm glad to share it with everybody.
Thank you so much, Israel, and thank you, Sheila, for bringing Israel to us. And that's Israel Smith, the historian and president of the Lions Club of Mokina. Folks, we got 30 seconds to wrap up the show today. And please go and visit our website, tlschicago.com. Check out the previous episodes. This episode will be posted on the website in a couple of days. Usually by Tuesday morning, we have the episode up. And if you have any questions, concerns, suggestions, if you want to know how to make love to your couch, call JD Vance. Don't call us. I'm never going to forget that, man.
Well, I think that's going to get a little bit of airplay as we go forward.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? I'm really surprised that our guest didn't talk about Denise Richards being from Mokina.
Okay, we ran out of time on that. We are already past 10 o'clock. So, Sheila, Israel, thank you so much for joining us.